What's up, guys? I'm just going to get right into today's video. It's just a quick message that was really on my heart since we just crossed our 3-year anniversary of starting our pest control business back in 2020. I was sitting around the other night just thinking about, because I'm a thinker before going to bed. I don't know if any of you guys are. But I was laying around just thinking about everything that surrounded the time of when I started my business, the year leading up to it, just everything that went into starting the business. And for those of you that don't know my story, I'll just give you a quick Cliff Notes version of that. My name is Griffin Thomas. Of course, I'm the owner of the company Preferred Pest Management in the Dallas, Texas area. And when I started my business back in 2020, I was 1 year post having our first child. Now we have 2 children, of course, and I had gotten very complacent. I was thinking and listening to what everyone was telling me about, you need to play it safe. You have a kid now to think about. You need health insurance. You need this, you need that. And I had a very cush job at Terminix. If you work for Terminix right now as a pest control technician or a salesman, you probably know what I mean. It's overall a pretty cush job. You make some decent money, especially for killing bugs or selling services on killing bugs, rodents, termites, etc. And you have some pretty good benefits, right? But with that, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. Of course, you all know I'm a believer in God, Jesus, all of that good stuff. And I just believe that, everything happens for a reason at the end of the day. Like, I'm sure a lot of you all at least believe that everything in your life happens for some sort of reason. Leading up to me starting my business, I actually lost my job at Terminix. Out of the blue, really. I'd been doing everything that I normally do for the last roughly 3 years that I had worked at Terminix. And out of the blue, we had a little bit of a management change, nothing crazy, new branch manager, and our service manager was kind of I wouldn't say intern branch manager in between, but he was to a certain degree, if that makes sense, like kind of helping getting the new branch manager up to speed, who was also a service manager that had been promoted up to branch manager. And I don't know if the guy had it out for me or what. I still to this day try to figure out if there was anything that, could have happened there, but point is, I ended up getting fired. I don't hardly ever. I was never hardly fired. I'd only been fired from like maybe one other job back when I was like a teenager. But other than that, I'd never been fired from a job. So it was pretty strange, from that moment. Literally, I remember walking out and, I was almost kind of laughing. I was smiling almost from ear to ear. And this, keep in mind, I wasn't even a certified applicator yet. I had 4 days to study my ass off for, at the time were the biggest tests of my life, because of course I knew if I wanted to start this business, I had to pass these tests, right? Thankfully, of course, fast forward to October 30th, 31st of 2020, we passed all 3 of those exams, and the rest is history. But that leads me to this point of, if not now, when? And when I say if not now, when, I'm talking to you directly from my experience. Like I always stress with everything on my channel, I'm speaking from my experience personally, because had I never been fired from Terminix, who knows if I'd ever even started my business, because again, I was playing it safe. I'm sure a lot of you, especially if you have kids, especially younger kids, you can probably relate to this. This is why you see a lot of older technicians who are 50, 60, at least in their 40s at the minimum, starting their businesses, while younger guys are not starting their businesses. And you're literally, just imagine if you could get a 10, 20-year gap on the people ahead of you in terms of competition. Every older technician who has gone out and started their business that I've talked to, which I've talked to dozens, if not even well over 100 at this point, including some of you guys, they all say the same thing to me. They say, when I ask, what's the number one thing you would suggest to somebody who is looking, they're not starting their pest business yet, but they're looking at starting their own pest control business, they all say the same thing: start now. Because I wish that I had started when I was young, because like I said, everyone, rightfully so, we play it safe to a certain degree, but at some point you have to be willing to jump out and take that risk. Like we talked about actually in the most recent podcast that I uploaded, which if you aren't following the podcast, it's on all of the audio, podcast platforms that you listen to. Just look up Real Life Entrepreneurship with Griffin Thomas. It'll be right there, the only one that you'll see when you type that in. It's also in our LinkTree for those of you that listen to Spotify specifically. We were talking about, even when you start your business, you have to be willing to pivot and take some risk. Same thing whenever you first start your business. The ultimate risk is just taking that leap and starting. And what's stopping you at the end of the day? Like, you have to think, what is going to happen if this business fails? Am I going to die? No. Is someone very close to me, like my daughter or my wife or husband, in some of you women cases, are they going to die? No. What's the worst that can happen? I mean, you might be homeless for a little bit while you look for another job. Well, guess what? We're in an industry where if you're starting your business, you have a certified applicator license. The worst thing that's going to happen to you is you go out, start your business, gain even more experience because you can put that on your resume, started and owned a pest control company. Every pest control business that I know of will hire you practically on the spot. If nothing else, you go back to the technician life. So you can either do what I did for approximately at least a year and a half. My daughter was born in 2019, August of 19. So almost, just over a year. I sat around, contemplated, why I should or why I shouldn't start my business. And thankfully I got fired. It's the craziest words I thought I'd ever say in my life. I'm happy that I got fired, right? It's just crazy. Something you never think you would say. But like I said, I look back on that at least once a week, once a month at the minimum. And I'm like, man, what if I had never got fired? I probably would have still been there. It's just crazy. And I want you guys to have more courage than that. That's my whole point that I'm trying to drive home here. If not now, when? Now, I'm not saying just literally go in and quit your job tomorrow. Be smart, have everything in place in terms of, be able to pay your bills for at least 3 months. It's not a bad idea. I didn't even have that though. I had enough money to live off of for about a month and a half. And of course, with my work ethic and knowledge and just working endlessly, like I know a lot of you guys will, to get leads and make sales, we were able to cash flow through that, and we didn't even really burn through that money at all. We just used it as advertising, essentially. So be smart, but do not sit around and think about insurance, thinking about a 401k. I cashed out my 401k. There was only a few grand in it because I just started investing into it right when my daughter was born, but I cashed out everything. And, I cannot say that I regret a single ounce of it, and it will be the best decision that you make. And it doesn't even have to be from a pest control business side of things. Say you're, in a plumbing industry, or I'm saying trade specifically, but it doesn't even have to be trades, any type of business that you are looking at starting. Again, do your research. Do a lot of analysis in terms of how much money you think you can make, how long you think it's going to take to get there. And like I said in that podcast, and I mentioned multiple times on this channel, always whatever you think is going to be at least multiplied by 3 to 5x at the minimum, and then just make your plan for your exit and then exit. Don't get there and then start getting analysis paralysis where you're literally just trying to make every little reason as to why you shouldn't start the business. Otherwise, you never will. That's pretty much it for today's short video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy it, and hopefully it maybe, lit a little fire under your butt. I don't tend to do a whole lot of motivational stuff, at least in my opinion. Some of you guys tell me I am motivational just because my story and how young I am and this and that and the other, which I appreciate, but I know I'm not usually out there yelling at you guys, motivating, that type of stuff that you see online or anything. But it's something I really wanted to drive home to you guys, and I'm sure I'll bring it up over and over again because, like I said, it almost kind of makes me feel like a coward from time to time where I'm like, man, it literally took them firing me to get me out the door to start my business. It's something that I always have to live with. I'm super thankful for it that it did happen. But like I said, if you guys can control it, which you can, if you haven't been fired or anything like that, you can control how your story goes on your terms, then go out there and do it. So I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. If you enjoyed this video, please do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button so it'll reach other people. Share it with people that you think could benefit from the video. And if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe down below. We have a link tree to all the different pages that we have, like a Facebook group with about 100 members in it, a Discord group with 200 or 300 members in it at this point, and everything's free, of course, to join. We don't charge for any of that stuff, and there's other resources in the link tree as well that should benefit you on top of that. But hopefully you guys are having a great week. Hopefully, like I said, this did motivate you, and I will see you guys in the next one.